All right. We are back. We are back, baby. Yeah. All right. I guess a lot of people are used to me. I'm gonna give it a minute to just let the integrations catch up. Make sure we're live on YouTube. Make sure we're live on X. And then we will kick it off. I love it. There's 3 of us today. Rodolfo, he's going to kill me if I keep calling him Rod. He is going to join us for the first 15 minutes only. And Nick, who I prefer to see in London at great wine bars, but, virtually is awesome too. I'll do full intros. I think that we are probably good to go. Just waiting. Kylie's going to give us a thumbs up once we're live everywhere. And I think that we're good. So wait, Nick, you've got a glass of wine?
I do indeed.
Prove it. Good. Excellent. Rodolfo, no glass of wine, I assume. It's
not at 11.
It's a time zone thing. I tell myself it's a time zone thing. I'm starting to think Rodolfo doesn't actually like wine. Rodolfo, do you really like wine? Prove it.
I really do. I try to keep it to the evenings.
Well, that's fair. That is fair. Some of us have to be responsible. It's 5:30 p.m. for me. For Nick, it's 4:30.
4:30.
You almost made it to 5 o'clock, Nick, but we twisted your arm. Although I know you
5 o'clock somewhere.
You go to lunch today, and I don't believe that you didn't have wine at lunch. So,
no.
Okay. All right. So we're live on X. We're waiting for YouTube, but we're going to dive in anyway. Sometimes YouTube is a little finicky, but we can fix that in post. So welcome back to everyone who is joining us, not for the first time. Anyone who has been patiently waiting for 34 minutes already, thank you very much. This is the first Wednesday that we changed the time slot. So we are now starting a half an hour later because we're data people and we realized that there's a really nice jump in traffic at this time. So this is just going to be the new norm, and I hope that that's fine for everyone. Yeah, these are the new rules of Wine Wednesday. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm your host, Jana Kryline. I am a certified wine geek and co-founder of dVIN Labs. And I am joined today briefly by Rodolfo. Rodolfo is my fellow co-founder of dVIN Labs, along with David Garrett, who is hosting he's judging some kind of thing tonight. I don't know what it is, but we're going to drink on his behalf. Rodolfo is also our kind of our secret weapon when it comes to wine sourcing. So he's going to jump in and tell us about a very exciting wine drop that we are going to be releasing tomorrow to members only. But before we give you the floor, Rodolfo, I want to introduce Nick so that, Nick's not, I know you're not a shy guy, Nick, but it's really cool to have you on here. And I know I've been blabbering, so I want to also make sure that we get your intro in, and we're going to dig into it a little more because your background blows my mind every time I think about it again. I'm like, right. Nick was a U.S. Army captain and like a paratrooper, right?
That's it. Exiting high-performance aircraft 1,200 feet above the ground, yeah.
Sounds like fun. Nope, I'd rather drink wine. Tough guy, obviously. Nick went from being a captain with distinction in the U.S. Army to Wall Street, to the City of London, and now wine. So we're going to get into that because that's a whole thing that I feel like needs to be explained. And before we do that, Rodolfo, I'm going to give you the floor to tell us about the wine drop tomorrow.
I am delighted to do so because it's an exciting one. Again, for our members, tomorrow we will have a drop at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be none other than Châteauneuf-du-Pape Rothschild.
Woo, woo, woo.
I know. First growth Bordeaux from Pauillac. From the 2009 vintage, one of the most acclaimed vintages in recent history. And it is a library release from the domain, from the chateau. So unquestionable provenance and chain of custody. And it will be nearly 30% under market value, under market price. So once again, the benefits of membership are, I think, clear and decisive to be able to, nail such a collectible, and also really an investment grade wine, particularly if you are able to get your hands on it, uh, at that price point.
Nice. Rodolfo, this is why we love you. Like, we love you for all kinds of reasons. We would love you more if you were drinking with us on Wine Wednesday, but you get up for it
Nice.
this week. How much of it do we have available for members?
It's we have up to, it comes in OWC original wooden case of one bottle, and it's up to six bottles per member.
Awesome. I feel like you're putting on a bit of like a radio voice, Rodolfo, and I like it. I think we can roll with that. It's a little bit like a commercial. And I'm feeling it. And I think we need to maybe pull that clip and promote it. Because I think you said like OWC, original wooden case, one bottle, and I like it. It pops. Man.
For a moment I was afraid you're going to tell me that I have a face for radio, but I'll take this instead.
Rodolfo, that just wouldn't be true. So, and don't we know
I agree.
it? I know. Okay. Is there anything else that members need to know about the wine tomorrow? They know what to do.
Take advantage of it, and stay tuned. There'll be many more exciting drops to come. But this one's up there, I think, in our very robust history of drops.
Ow! I love it. Okay. Also, guys, sorry, I'm rowdy. It looks like I'm already done my first glass, but I swear to God, this was just the taster and I'm already rowdy. So I don't know. Moving on. So expect more wine drops. We've got plans to ramp up the wine drops to 4 a month. So 1 a week. I know, I'm good at math. Pretty cool. So we got big plans. Rodolfo's got his work cut out for him, and I know he's got big wines in the pipeline. So here we go. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Members, you know what to do. If you're not a member, you're going to have to shoot Rodolfo an email, r@clubdvin.com. Right now, membership is closed. It's referral only. So if you know somebody, then you can get in and get in on all those wine drops. Or just email Rodolfo and ask nicely. And let's see. We'll see what happens. Rodolfo, do you want to stick around and chat about Châteauneuf-du-Pape, or do you have to drop?
I have to jump here very quickly, but so I can jump now or listen in for a few minutes.
Well, it's going to be a very sad moment when you drop off, but yeah, drop off the call. Don't drop off anything. Okay, great. So, do you know what? No, I lied. Nick, can you please tell us the story about how the heck you went from being like captain in the U.S. Army and got into wine?
Yeah, where to start? No, well, first of all, as you know, thanks for having me on. And it's been, these past few years getting to know the dVIN crowd. I've met Dave multiple times in London, Jana here, Boston with Rodolfo. I've met everyone in person. It's been such a delight. And I was thinking about it. I was like, Jane Anson was on. Was she the last Wine Wednesday or a couple Wine Wednesdays ago?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, these are big shoes to fill. So I'm humbled to have been invited. My my background. I know coming to wine is a bit less than traditional. Let's say coming out of university, I went into the army. I'm from the States, but live in London, and we can get there eventually. But the military is a family business. Both my grandfather served, both my parents served, and it's not that there was pressure to do it, but it's just like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do. And I think one of the best things to come out of that was my first assignment. I was stationed in Germany. I was actually stationed in the beer part of Germany, but just east.
Isn't a beer part, Nick? Come on.
Huh?
Which part of Germany isn't a beer
Well,
market?
that's true. That is true because I was in Franconia, which the Frankish wine has their own kind of distinctive Bockbeutel.
Foxville.
Yeah, there you go. But it's very much wine country. And but what was cool is my unit, we were half in Germany and half in Vicenza, Italy, so just outside Venice. And
Rough.
the the people that were stationed in Italy were like, oh, they were traveling to vineyards every weekend, and you'd be stationed there for 3 or 4 years, and they'd amass these wine collections, and like, oh wow, like what's a wine collection? Like I didn't grow up in a house where there was wine on the table or anything, and
How old were you?
so I was 23 when I was so like 23 to 27, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of fascination with there, and there was wine culture in Germany, right? We'd go to I don't know if you know where Zeil am Main is.
Excuse me. Have we never talked about this, Nick?
No.
Do you know that my roots, so anyone who's watching this who doesn't know me or my background, I did my sommelier studies in Toronto. And then when I finished that with the quartermaster sommeliers, I moved to Franconia. I worked, no kidding.
No, we haven't been this deep.
Ridiculous.
No. Where in Franconia?
I literally got off the phone like an hour ago with Weingut am Stein with Antonia Knoll, so the Knolls from Weingut am Stein in Würzburg. I lived in Würzburg for 4 years.
Okay.
Which is just the most beautiful little retail town in Franconia.
Yeah.
I lived there for 4 years, worked for Amstein. I did my first harvest there. And then they taught me everything about winemaking. I then became their export manager and started taking them into different countries and markets. And it was amazing. And that's when I started my wine communication brand and Instagram and everything. And so that's actually my roots really in the real wine world, if you will, because before that I did my somm education. I was working in restaurants, but I had no real I had never stepped foot in a vineyard really. And then I dove right into it in Franconia, and I love those wines.
Okay, cool. So I was in Bamberg, and then just to the west of Bamberg, that we did have, I don't know, call it maybe 1,000 soldiers that were stationed in Schweinfurt. And then if you were a young single lieutenant or captain, you would live in Würzburg. So you were like, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes further west, because that was a bigger town and it was more fun. So we've probably been in the same nightclubs. I don't know, whenever that was, but we've probably been.
I was there from 2015 until 2018.
Okay, so I was 7 to 11, so we just missed. No. So anyway, I don't know. I feel like living abroad gave me this kind of perspective, into wine, and going to the Zeil Wine, the Zeiler Wine Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew that was such a formative experience, and the Italian influence and all that. And then went to Afghanistan twice from Germany. After that, I moved back to the States and got my next duty assignment. I was stationed in Colorado. There's not much wine thing going on there, but went back to Afghanistan, and that's when I decided I would get out. I'd seen enough of Afghanistan, and I wanted to take more control of my own destiny and future. And I figured the way to do that was by doing an MBA. So I got out of the Army, did an MBA. And I signed up for the wine club in the MBA, because why not? It's fun. It brings people together. It's something I think I think people that are into wine have this innate kind of curiosity, intellectual curiosity, let's call it.
Or they're just like masochistic. It's usually people who are very successful and busy that decide to do the diploma program, for example.
Right. Yeah. Or that. And so I went to a couple of the wine club events that first year, and then me and a couple others. And then when the graduating class was leaving, they sent an email to 3 people and said, we need 3 officers for the wine club next year. We need a VP of marketing, VP of finance, and a president. And I was just the 3rd person to reply to that email.
Nick, president.
And I became president of the wine club. Zero ambition. I swear to God, zero ambition. And what was cool about that was, and there's a couple things, contacts in the industry, and LVMH has this program where they kind of court top MBAs to like, look, we'll come in, we'll do a Dom Perignon tasting, and da 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 da.
Really?
And so when you go out into industry and you like close a big M&A deal or whatever, they want you to think like, I remember how do we celebrate? Oh yeah, it's with Dom Perignon.
Oh my God, that's good.
So that was cool. But the head of the MBA program, shout out Joe Fox. I'll tag Joe Fox.
Shout out Joe Fox.
When this is on LinkedIn, but he encouraged me to apply to E&J Gallo's. So they have an MBA management program that's like a 2-year, spend 8 months in 3 different jobs, find a home, learn about the wine industry, this, that, and the other. I was doing the Wall Street track. I was like hellbound, on New York, like New York or nothing. But I put my name in the ring for Gallo, did the phone interview, did the in-person interview, got an offer, and they fly you out to Modesto. And for those of you that don't know, I mean, E&J Gallo, if you combine all their properties, are the largest wine producer in the world. And they make they make top wines, and they make entry-level grocery wines and everything in between. And I really had this, I don't want to say existential, but it was a challenging decision to make, because I was like, do I go to New York and I do this thing that, I was used to an army paycheck, and then I got a Wall Street offer, and I was like, okay, that's, crazy. Or do I do this thing that's interesting, and like things that you can touch and things that you can experience, and, and I went with the money thing rather than the interesting thing.
You can touch wine.
Oh, you can drink it.
You can, yeah. That's good thinking. Good, solid thinking.
So
proud.
And I made the right choice. And I'll tell you, I made the right choice because I went to New York. I learned a load, but also that's where I met my wife, and who is English. And kind of early on in our courtship, her job pulled her to London. I was able to move with my bank to London. And then during the pandemic, I always had this wine itch. See you, Rodolfo.
Bye, Rodolfo. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Always. And yeah, so I had this itch during the pandemic, and what do I do? I was like, what would be cool is like import wine. Let's import American wine. Let's represent under the radar American producers. But I was like, I don't know anything about that. I don't know. How do you do that? Where do you start? Let me get some experience in industry and figure out the lay of the land. And I knew about a company called LiveX, and we can talk about LiveX. But I knew about them from having bought wine in London and become a bit of a wine collector in London, and what they do, buying on Premier and pricing and whatever. And they were looking for someone to do business development in the US, but be based in London. And I was like, okay, this is London-based, US focused, wine and markets. And it was like a Cinderella story. It couldn't be. I think when the job had been on LinkedIn for 3 hours when I applied. So that was like, okay, I made the choice to leave banking. Let's go into wine. Let's go to this kind of, and for those of you that don't know LiveX, it's kind of, I describe it as the New York Stock Exchange for fine wine and the Bloomberg Terminal for fine wine. So there's wine that trades.
The Bloomberg Terminal for wine is back as AI. Excuse me.
Oh, excuse me.
All right. It's okay to make mistakes here, Nick. I'm not gonna make you feel bad about it or anything.
Right. Well.
Carry on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Shout out to LiveX. Love you guys.
Shout out LiveX. Shout out Bacchus. And where did I go from there? So what was cool about LiveX is it's this global business. The leading businesses, wine businesses of the world are on it. And I got to see how 700 different wine businesses operate, right? Of the 700 of the leading wine businesses in the world operate, and whether that's in the US or in Asia or in Europe or, wherever. And, for one reason or another, my time there kind of came to an end, and said, okay, cool. How do I apply those lessons to what I want to do? And also I want to work for myself, right? I've I've saluted the flag. I've been in this rank hierarchy in the military. I've done the rank hierarchy thing in a bank. I've been an employee. Let's try some entrepreneurship. Let's try to do this thing. And so then I set up Avant-Garde over the past year, and really what the goal is to kind of leverage technology, and that's not just LiveX. There's other platforms and other tech that I'm using to take what I've seen to be an inefficient market and benefit the consumer. And there's a number of ways that I do that, and there's things that we can talk about, but really get the consumer as close to the best price to wine as they can. And yeah, so that's been live since April. It's going on July, so not even yet 90 days, but it's been cool. And orders not just coming out of London. I've had interest out of Singapore, out of the US, and it's really an exciting time.
You see, does everyone understand why we love Nick? He speaks our language. This is it. Inefficiency, like the wine industry as we know it, and we talk about this all the time, and we write about it all the time, and all of our content kind of preaches this, but the wine industry has worked the same way for so long, and it's riddled with inefficiencies. And so, Nick, what is your vision for Avant-Garde? I mean, you've been around for, like you said, not even 90 days. But where do you want to take it?
What is the vision? It's interesting. I think that I've described what I'm doing to a friend, and I don't know if I've said this to you before, Jana, or Dave even, but I've described what I'm doing to a friend, and they read it back to me and said, well, Nick, you're trying to be the TJ Maxx or TK Maxx of fine wine, right? And I was like, at first I took offense to that. And I was like, I want to be the luxury brand of wine. I want to be the, like, on Bond Street or on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. But the thing is, these wines, as long as the provenance, and Rodolfo talking about the drop tomorrow, and this kind of concept of the bonded system in the UK and all that, and as long as the provenance is there, why should you pay more for wine than you should? Mm-hmm. And so the vision is to make sure that customers aren't paying any more than they absolutely can.
Beautiful.
And what does that look like scaled up? I'm not sure, but I think that, and I've said dVIN has incredible, aspiration and ambition and all that, but no matter what, it's still going to be an inefficient market, right? And being able to take advantage of those inefficiencies to the benefit of the consumer, that's kind of the vision.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. Hallelujah. Like, this is the future of wine. And we, like, the more guys like you, women like me, I don't know, I didn't want to just leave it at guys like
people like us. People like us.
Yeah, exactly. The more people like us, the sooner we're going to reach, a more efficient marketplace. We're talking about end goal. I think we're speaking the same language when we talk about end goal being like a global order book for wine. Are we speaking the same language?
Totally.
When I say
totally. Yeah.
Like, the process of buying wine at the moment, if we're talking about investment grade wine, is, I mean, the fact that you were a president of your wine club, and so one thing that I noticed when you were telling the story, just for me to take this back a second, is you went from, I don't know what kind of level of knowledge you had when you did your MBA and when you became president of the wine club, but I know that one very common thing in wine is that I think I don't know if it's all humans or we that are interested in wine at the beginning, we always think we know more than we know, and then we learn really quickly that we know nothing. Yeah. Very humbling. And I think that it's really interesting that you kind of went from there, or I don't know if you were there, but you became president of your wine club, and then you kind of skipped and were like, oh, and then I was in London and I was buying these wines, these investment grade wines. And I'm like, what? Because wait, how did you get into that? And how annoying was it at first?
Yeah, that is funny. And that's so true. And I think there, in every individual wine journey, there is that kind of humbling moment. And so it's like when I was thinking about leaving the city, leaving banking and going into wine, I was like, well, I've been to Napa Valley a couple times. Like I must know a lot. And then it's like,
Yeah.
no, you don't know jack. And like, even when I did, when I had the offer from Gallo and went out, they flew us out. Everybody that had an offer, they flew us out to Modesto, and they're like, oh yeah, and we'll sponsor you if you want to do the Master of Wine. Da 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 da. I was like, oh, Master of Wine, that sounds cool. That must be just like a 2-year course that you do at like the local community college. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what a Master of Wine was, and now it's like, okay, that's something very serious, right? And so no, and there's for sure. I mean, there's always a knowledge gap that can never be closed, right? And I don't think it's a competition to know the most about wine, but it's like you said, people that are into wine, there is a thirst for learning more, and it's not to be showy about it, but it's just like, wait, what? That classification works this way, or you can do this with this grape in this region or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, there's satisfaction that comes from that, I guess.
100%. And then we have to get back to the part where it's like how annoying was the process of buying investment grade wine at the beginning, or was it not? Because I want to know that. Because it sounds like the business that you built now is obviously like way more efficient, and anyone coming into it now and finding you first would probably have a way better experience than you had yourself, obviously, right? That's kind of the main idea. But I think just to go back, because I laughed too hard, and I want to just clarify, I wasn't laughing at the fact that someone offered to sponsor you the Master of Wine program, because I'm sure you could do it. That wasn't why I was laughing, and I realized after that it looked like I was bullying you.
Yeah, no, Jana, you're fine. I didn't take it. I didn't take it that way.
I've had that exact moment. Actually, Dave, I'm calling you out. David Garrett also was like, hey, I'll sponsor you to do it. And I just came out of my diploma program. And so that would be like the next step, because there's nowhere else to go from there except MS or MW, more like MW. But I just remember looking at him and being like, yeah, and we're building dVIN at the same time. And he was like, and we'll make a TV show out of it. And I was like, what? How much time is in a day, man? But yeah, one day, but holy,
one day.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. I think the thing about investment grade wine, and again, I was thinking about this today, and how it pertains to technology. And if you think about in the pre-internet days, right? Which, like, I don't think either you nor I lived in wine in the pre-internet days.
No.
But like, if you wanted to know what the price of a first growth Bordeaux was in 1999, say, what did you do? Did you call, how many merchants did you call and write on a notepad and say, okay, it's 500 pounds here, and it's 530 pounds here, and it's 490 pounds here for dollars or euros or whatever. And so I think the internet has closed that gap a bit, right? But not entirely. And so it's like you said, you talk about a global order book, and in a more efficient market where there are price discrepancies and therefore arbitrage, that gap closes, right? And sure, you see it. You see it. I mean, you see it from the dawn of the internet till now. Call it the last 25 years. But there's still a ways to go. Oh
yeah, I mean, we say it all the time now. I think the first time that I heard Dave say this was, it's been a couple of months, but he said something a while back that just really, like, it made so much sense to me. It was like, hey, if we were going to try and build what we're building today for the industry, like, you would have had to invent blockchain to do it. Like, there was no way to solve all the things that we want to solve at dVIN Labs. And I'm sure what you want to solve or are solving with Avant-Garde, like, in order to be able to authentically and transparently verify that a wine is real and where it's been and whatever, like, you kind of need the blockchain for that. And so internet it was a huge leap for wine. A huge leap for wine. Wow. I feel like this is turning into a speech. Maybe it is. But yeah, I think that that the blockchain is just it's like the next it's the future of wine certainly, but it's just this huge leap. So I'm really excited to see how many people start adopting it. I mean, it's been a wild ride for us. It's been about 4 years since we kind of started talking about this. And before that, I mean, Dave is the conceptual founder. Before we founded Club dVIN and dVIN Labs, it was like, winemakers were coming to him and being like, "Hey, do we need to be on the blockchain? Why? And what does that mean? And what does that solve?" And like, those kind of conversations. And then fast forward 2 years later, the club was live and the tech was it was live, more as like a proof of concept still. We would go to winemakers doing biz dev and be like, "Hey, this is a win-win for you. It's like a win-win for everybody. We're solving this." And they'd be like, "What? Blockchain? NFT? Shut the door." And now it's already, so now we're 2025, we've been around for 4 years. And now it's just this like, people are starting to understand and actually really like, this is where we want to put our money. This is where we want to invest. Like we really see that this is the future. And so I think if you compare it to the internet coming around and like giving people your credit card information back then, and it was like, "No, I'm not giving you my credit card." It's like now with a wallet address. There's a lot of fear, but I think that's all starting to, the tech is advancing, companies are getting smarter, and like it's becoming much more mainstream. So let's see. It's been a while.
So I know, Jana, up until now, you've been asking me the questions. I'll turn the table. So what's the next step in that then for dVIN?
Yeah. So for anyone who is really interested in like deep dives into everything that we're building, I would really encourage you to check out our Medium. So if you go to news.dvinlabs.com, you'll see every Sunday we put out a long form article. Dave does, we do like a long form article on Sundays, and then a lot of our content will kind of, put it into different storylines and use cases and things like that throughout the week. But the main long form articles are amazing. And it basically tells you everything that we've built in the past, where we're going. But really what we're focusing on right now at Labs, because there's Club, which Rodolfo was talking about. That's our very wine-centric, wine-forward, exclusive members-only club. That was our proof of concept. It's where we first launched the tech and tested everything. Shout out to all our OG members, also like Nick, who kind of tested everything and gave us feedback and helped us build that and keep making it smarter and more efficient. So Club is like front row seat to Labs. So all of the tech that's coming out, Club gets to kind of test it out first and see it first. But Labs is really building basically an infrastructure layer for the entire wine industry on the blockchain. And so right now, one of the things that we're really focusing on is wine-backed lending, so collateralization of wine, which is very, very interesting, kind of turning wine into a financial instrument. And then one of the other things that we're really, really focusing on that ties into that is launching marketplaces. So we did a really cool trial. This was, my gosh, it's June. I'm just thinking when we launched Wrecked Wine. We did a trial, we tested it, we launched the first kind of marketplace for wine, for tokenized wine. And then we took it back down, we rebuilt it. And so that's going to go live again pretty soon. But the idea is that there are merchants all over the world that will basically come online. So what we're building with a great company called Liquid Mercury, a strategic partner of ours, is kind of like the first version of that marketplace. And so we're going to have global partners launching on that tech. It'll be their own wine and customer base and everything. And then basically it's like a white label. So let's say we've got 5 that are going to go live this year, and then it's kind of hyper scalable, but 5 go online this year. And all of these merchants, all of these marketplaces talk to each other. So it's not silos anymore. Because one of the big issues in wine is that everybody's building silos. And so what we want to make sure in the end is that we're actually building for the future, and we're building for efficiency, and we're building in a way that benefits the winemaker and, benefits the end consumer and kind of everybody in between. It's a real win-win. But the idea is that you get transparent pricing and global liquidity for wine. So it's a big idea. But Nick totally speaks our language, and I think we're pretty much saying the same thing.
For sure.
That was a long speech too. Sorry, guys. Let's take a drink of wine and
There you
shut
go.
up.
Cheers, Jana.
Cheers, Nick. But yeah, I mean, we're 37 minutes in. I'm just looking. I was just thinking we were 7 minutes over because I'm used to starting on the hour. Nick, is there anything else that you want to tell us about Avant-Garde? Because I'm super excited about it. Who is your customer base?
Yeah, who's my customer base? I mean, well, what's interesting is like I didn't, excuse me, much like, sorry, like dVIN, I do have big aspiration, and want it to be. Oh, sorry.
Take it outside, Nick.
No, I'll take a drink of water.
Fine.
Global, and some interest has come in from abroad, and I'm learning how to navigate that. And so I don't want to say, oh, my customer base is if you're inside London and you're da 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 da. So if you're watching this from the US, if you're watching it from Asia or Europe or whatever, and you're interested in learning more, like reach out. I'm sure my links will be included here. Go to avant-garde.wine.com, both work, and see more and get in touch and let's chat. I mean, I think in terms of my customer base, my audience, it's really interesting because I think I cater to that kind of price sensitive, well-informed wine person. And so they know that they can buy Mouton 09 from dVIN 30% below market. And what else can I get a hold of? And they'll come and look. And so that's cool. But I think what's more exciting is getting this customer base that thinks that fine wine is too expensive. And, but they're happy to pay 25, 30 pounds a bottle at the grocery store for a bottle of wine that they don't know necessarily anything about. That might be, mass produced, so on and so forth. And I'm like, come get involved. Sign up to the newsletter, sign up to the offers, which only go out at most once a week. So I'm not kind of cluttering your inbox like a lot of wine merchants. And see what those 25 or 30 pounds a bottle can get you on best in class, best in region, best in the world type wines. And so helping that grocery store wine buyer graduate into properly fine wine, let's say.
Maybe they can become president of a wine club one day too.
That's it. They're So, and everything in between, right? It's it's a journey, and you know what? I'm sure, like dVIN, right? Like, what did dVIN look like 1 year after? What did dVIN look like? Does dVIN 4 years later look like you thought it would? On day one, you and Dave sitting down.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see, and we'll see where what grows legs, and yeah. If you're curious, if you're interested, get involved. I'm happy to have a chat. I mean,
check out what
Jana,
Nick's doing.
And yeah,
we're huge supporters. If there's anything we can do to help, we love. Honestly, if someone writes we have like a members chat. Shout out to all the members watching this. We have a members chat on WhatsApp. And whenever someone's like, hey, I'm going to be, it's not even just in London. Whenever someone's like, hey, I'm going to be here, I feel like Nick is always the first person to answer before any of the founders. And he's like, you have to check out this place. And they're like legitimately the best recommendations ever. 10
You flatter me. Jana, you flatter me. What I'll say to that is shout out to the dVIN community. And shout out Ehab if you're watching this. Because it's one thing to have a WhatsApp chat, right? But then it's another thing to say, like, look, I'm going to be in Burgundy this weekend. Not even what should I do? Shout out Rodolfo as well, right? Like, I went to Napa a couple of years ago. I was like, what should I do? Da, 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 da. He's like, let me put you in touch with these people, and had some experiences that money can't buy. Literally, I'm not marketing dVIN, but like only being part of this community got me access to, incredible people, great experiences. And so when it comes to life, is like, it's so good. And that's what wine's about, right? Like, You could drink wine. You could drink wine in a lab, with sterile conditions and whatever. But when you do it with great people, like-minded people, um, it's just that much better.
That's true. Like, amen to that. Okay, so we did this a little bit different than we usually do. We forgot to talk about Châteauneuf-du-Pape, so I'm gonna do like just a quick sec on the wine topic of the week. So Châteauneuf-du-Pape, are you drinking a Châteauneuf-du-Pape right now, Nick? Because I've got two in front of me. I couldn't do it. I had one that I wanted to open and I just couldn't do it in the end. So what have you got?
Is that one? No, that's not really what I'm drinking. I just have that laying around. Although from the same producer, a much more humble wine from Domaine de Tours. So it's not technically a Châteauneuf, it's a Vin de Paille Vaucluse, which is still Southern Rhône, Rhône varietals, 2019. You said yours is 15 and a half?
So alcohol?
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but I told you it was high alcohol, so look at you.
Is it 15? Yeah. So I'm 14%. This is lighter, still from the Reno stable of wine, so it's like a baby Reyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I did my homework, and like a couple weeks ago, I ordered a bunch of wine. I looked at all of the next topics that we have coming up that our amazing team has been like scheduling, and I look and I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about next week and the week after and whatever. And we've actually got some really big wines on for summer. So apologies to anyone who's been trying to keep up and do their homework and are opening like big boy wines in 32 degrees heat. We're going to take that into consideration next summer. For now, keep up. I ordered my wine, so it is what it is. I ordered this Châteauneuf-du-Pape, kind of a badass producer. So this is the Chateau de Beaucastel. I didn't have the heart to open it. It's a 2022. I planned on opening it, and then I went around the corner to the wine shop and decided that I didn't have the heart to do it while my husband's not home, because that's not fair. So I am drinking this gem. This is actually one of the most historic and biodynamic producers in the Southern Rhône. So Châteauneuf-du-Pape, these wines can be like big and bold. Anyone who doesn't know, this is like Southern Rhône Valley in France. The name literally means New Castle of the Pope, and we're talking about like 14th century when the Pope moved to Avignon and basically said, let's plant some vines. He probably said it in a way like, I feel like you would say it better if you were just spitballing, Nick, because you said earlier when
No.
meeting your wife, you were like, during the courtship, and I was like, courtship? So what did the Pope say? Let's plant some.
No. Jana, you put me on the spot here. I mean, it was probably in Latin as well, right?
I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Wow. So this actually became one of France's first appellations in 1936. I got to go back and look at my notes, but I think so. And one of the things I love about Châteauneuf-du-Pape is Grenache is usually the star. And I love Grenache, but a lot of the times what you're talking about is GSM, or it's Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. There's also Cinsault, and there's a lot of different grape varieties that are allowed, but a lot of the time you're going to hear GSM, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. That is the classic red blend. And what makes this region, I think, so special, I visited a couple times, and reading it in the textbook before you visit, you're like, oh, that sounds nice. But then you realize it is hot Mediterranean. The sun is like beating down, and you've got these like big stones all over the ground that like they hold on to the heat. They're called galets. I think I'm probably saying that in a really Canadian, I'm probably butchering it. I'm sure it's like galet. But there's these big, beautiful stones on the ground. But then there's this wind, the Mistral, that just blows through and like takes that edge off. But the wines are just very rich and like deep and powerful and spicy and earthy, and they age very well. And it's just an awesome place to look for wines. So that's what we're talking about today. We did it backwards. Usually we start with that. But yeah, anything else to add about Châteauneuf-du-Pape or Southern Rhône?
No, I don't think so. Well, what I would say is, what's interesting is, I mean, all those factors that you talk about, I think lends to the producers being able to make wines that are kind of more singular, right, and to their style. And so kind of producer by producer, where their property sits, their land sits, and what is the terroir. I mean, I think you talk about terroir and you really tend to think about Burgundy.
Yeah.
But in the Rhone, the terroir plays just as big an impact. So yeah, know what you're looking for in terms of producers, what their style is versus another, and the more you drink, the more you know.
The more you drink, the more you know. I like that, because usually it's the more you drink, the drunker you get. But I prefer the more you drink, the more you know. And I think
Put it on that PBS rain, the more you know.
Yeah, I definitely feel wiser after I've had a bottle of wine. I like it. I'm gonna roll with that. So thanks everybody. Thank you so much, Nick, for taking the time to chat with us. Next time I'm in London, we're gonna have to check out the next hotspot, because I can always trust you.
I know exactly where I'm taking you. I won't say it. Getting the dVIN members chat, and I'll drop it in there.
Yeah, I'm sure we gotta, Ehab, if you're watching, or Larry, I know you're watching. It's time for you to come to London. It's time for you guys to come to London. Nick's taking us out. That's what's happening. The next members is just dinner with Nick.
Dave's paying.
Great. Okay. I got the company card. Don't worry about it. We're good. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you so much, Nick.
Jana,
and I'm going to close it off on one quick note, and that is, Nick mentioned that if you think about terroir, you think about Burgundy. I want everybody to think about terroir and think about Franconia, because that's Nick and I's kind of root in wine.
What binds us?
Let's go. Limestone. All right. Thanks everybody. Nick, if you just stick 1 second, I'm going to shut off the live. Thanks everybody.